So basically, what I did was this morning, I ran a basic analysis. On Google Scholar, there are 7.78 million articles available. Now, you can imagine how fast things are going. And I did some analysis on Google Trends. And if you look at Google Trends, look at all from 2000 to 2025 and how fast in 25 things are going up. So it means people are using ChatGPT, people are using AI, this is out of control. So these are just basic. You can also run on Google Trends. I strongly recommend consider using it. I use it in my classes. This is another part of AI. And so basically, it's going to hit $3.4 trillion in 2031. AI is a part of our everyday life. Dr. Siddiqui mentioned that. Deep fake, problems of trust, mistrust. Data centers are emerging, and as you correctly mentioned, power and water. And our area is also getting involved. We don't have the time to discuss those issues, but you are familiar with that. In the next 3 years, a lot of things will be happening, but without data center, AI cannot work. I cannot work, you cannot work. It doesn't matter which discipline you are in. You need massive data. So what are the things we are looking at? Agentic AI, and that is your autonomous AI interaction of machines and human being. It's a dilemma. It is highly LLM, large language models, privacy algorithms, super intelligence, data privacy. Dr. Siddiqui already corrected these. But the main thing is that I did this seminar just to help you understand where do we stand in terms of regulations. And that's an issue. And it's very vague. It's very fuzzy, because I purposely wrote here that many federal agencies, they are assessing it, and 118th and 119th Congress, they have discussed it, but basically there is not too much action. There are a lot of challenges in the law. Now, EU is ahead of us, European Union. They already passed their AI Act. This for 2024. There was a lot of debate. 27 countries, and they have their own parliament. So this is a totally different world, and they already started operating this AI Act February 2025, and it will be completed by 2030. So it's going to take a long time. United Kingdom is waiting and watching, although they have a lot of things going on. So the outcome of this basic data and issues at the global level, there is no agency at all which can regulate. Every country is different, especially in the area of medicine. If you go to Europe, if you go to United Kingdom, if you go to Japan, if you go to Asia, it's highly haphazard. And the reason is because countries do not cooperate. I teach international business. And historically, and even today, in these days, countries are very reluctant to cooperate. And the reason is because it is national sovereignty. Nobody would like to surrender their sovereignty. So, and we can have a seminar on this topic the whole day. So much going on, but please be aware. Regulatory environment is still not done. It's very fuzzy, and there are a lot of things happening, and it does have a big impact on higher education, on almost every discipline behind the scene. And I will give you a few comments, few thoughts, what lies ahead. Consider looking at Magnificent Seven, which we discussed in our classes. Magnificent Seven are Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, NVIDIA, okay? And these companies, 7 companies, their total market value, I just calculated in morning again, it's over $22 billion. NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft, they both are above $4 trillion each. So you can imagine how powerful they are because of the digital monopolies. And so there is a lot of regulatory environment. But what is the issue? The issue is when you look at the data, please consider looking at the data. Look at some of the largest lobbyists in DC, Washington, D.C. Those companies are Google, Amazon, Walmart, all those, because that's where they can afford to spend money. So the point is, regulation is kind of very tricky, and it's not being discussed too much, but it does have a big impact. So we have a lot of benefits. We have lots of issues going on, but behind the scene, there are also issues going on, which you correctly mentioned. So what lies ahead? Sky is the limit. And the next 3-4 years, in my opinion, and that's what we read in the literature, are going to be pretty complex because you will have a big impact. I mean, even within our area, the next 3 years will be pretty complex. You already mentioned in Virginia and some cities, they have giant data centers. And consider looking at those issues. But I made this handouts for you. We had 2 wonderful sessions before, and this is the 3rd one. But I'm glad that you brought all the issues. Problems are there. And the world is not simple. If you don't have a problem, then you have a problem, in my opinion. And the reason is that's what we teach. And that's what we solve all the problem. But I think at this time, I would invite the speakers to come here. If you have any question, we just have 5 minutes. And I want to make sure that you have the chance to answer your ask your question. This is the best opportunity, and I'm glad that these gentlemen, they work at WT.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all so much again for y'all's time. My question comes down to about the ethics of AI and kind of looking into that. So there was a recent study that the HuffPost did, and basically certain AI models, I guess, would preserve themselves, almost like a sentient being would do. And, this is to avoid shutdown or to avoid, being turned off. And I wonder, at what point does companies need to think ethically and be like, is this wrong, and how do we combat that, right? And what does that mean on a larger scale, affecting the economy and just the world as a whole?
I'll let you take it first.
About the ethics, as I've already told, the line is already blurring. The research is now going on that we found that, for example, there was a research carried out where almost 1/3 of the students, of course, in an anonymous feedback survey, they agreed that they used to write the LLM completely for the whole paper. And even in research publications, things are coming up where people, and again, the tools to detect, as Dr. mentioned about the AI tools like Turnitin, they are also AI. And the best part is students have learned to humanize this in the prompt, and now the AI is learning to humanize it. So again, that's why I said it's a societal, you can say, thing to think about this, because for them, for the companies, it's about winning this race, whoever wins the race. And even if they have to cross the lines, they will. And we already see that sometimes they just change the wordings, but they are plagiarizing. So we cannot stop it. We can handle it in a different way. Maybe instead of asking students or the researchers not to use AI at all, because we know they're going to use it, let's use it in a regulatory way. Maybe some of the journals, for example, allowed that you can cite a ChatGPT or LLM, so that still the things are ethically under control. Because if you don't, if you stop a child from doing something, they will do it secretly. Allow them, but in a controlled manner, so that you are watching and you are aware of it. So that's how I think this should be handled.
And also on that note, when we talk about ethics, right? I always ask my students, like, why are you here? Like, why are you at WT? What do you hope to achieve from this? And then they'll give me this really good answer, and then I'll say, great, do you want to just hand that to the robots? Because that's what you're doing, right? what purpose do you serve if AI can then do what your purpose is? I think to your question about like creating likenesses and those types of things, I think Hollywood's messing with that right now. They're running into some issues. Some actors have signed over their likenesses, and other actors are like, don't even think about it. So they're kind of navigating those ethical waters. But for me, if I have a student and I'm working with that student, I want that student to learn and to be able to go out and produce. At some point, that student's going to be found out. So if you're using AI to write your paper, you're using AI to write your resume, you're using AI to create your cover letters and all of your skill sets, at some point you actually have to do the job. And that's whenever it's going to fall apart. And these companies that are taking these gambles and trying to hire these people, that hurts their bottom line at some point, right? The productivity. So that for me is like, it'll come out in the end at some point. It's not, I'm going to do my best to make sure my students can actually go out and plant a garden.
So with more and more entry-level jobs being kind of phased out since AI has kind of come onto the scene, like as a new grad, how do you recommend we combat that?
So AI is still very far from replacing your job completely. It is giving us indications that it might replace, and that's where our decisions should be based on. If we are doing the same mundane task of writing the same code for a technical, for example, position, then we need to change that a little bit. Again, as I've told, it is difficult to ignore AI. You have to learn with it. Rather than letting it do your work, ask it to assist you. That's one of the way of handling it. And secondly, specialized jobs are still in the market because it is indicating us, please don't learn only this skill, learn something else as well. So there are many skills that requires human intervention and so on. And that's why I think still we are far from that position. But we should be developing those skills still at the point where AI cannot handle those skills. And again, decision making and all those sort of stuff. For example, if you're being hired at a position where you need to scan the resumes, don't let AI do that for you. Do it by yourself. And it cannot take up those things. It can only do the things that people have done in past. So maybe come up with new ways of doing things, and that's how you can be sure that you will get a job and that will not be taken away by an AI.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's your degree?
Marketing.
And what do you think about that degree? Like, why did you get into marketing, I guess would be my question.
Well, it's a business degree that has transferable skills.
Okay, like what?
I mean, with marketing, you can go into sales.
Okay.
You can work for a marketing agency. You can even go the business route and, do something that's not necessarily marketing related. There's a lot of options.
And how much of that requires you to be able to have interaction with other people?
I would say pretty decent amount.
So if I'm going to buy something, I would rather talk to you than to the robot. That's your leg up. So AI is going to be great, it's going to help, whatever, but you still have to be you. That's why you get that degree.
One last comment, because we are running out of time. One piece of data I just looked at, research and development. Billions of dollars are being spent, especially by the Magnificent Seven, which I mention all the names of the companies. And so this is where a lot of money is being spent, and some of the money may not be what we call return on assets, investment. It may be wasted, but some money will be useful. One last question.
Yes. Do you think ChatGPT is going to slow it down or bring it back to where people actually start buying stuff in person? And like you said with her, the more of I want to talk to a person instead of online, because like with our generation, we're all about that online shopping, best deal. I went to a mall in like Fort Worth and it was just dead sign. I was like, cool, all this cool stuff for me.
Right. There are the positives and negatives of that. I ordered something from Amazon last week. Amazon canceled it without telling us that they canceled it. So I was waiting on my jukebox to get here with the CD player, by the way. And I found out that it didn't. And so I went and started looking at actual stores to try to find something similar, and it didn't exist. So I had to order it on Amazon. They had the market on this jukebox that I really had my eyes on for the writing center, y'all. But yeah, I think that you're starting to see a little bit of a swing where people actually want to have that human interaction and they want to have that discussion. If I could speak to this in my tech comm class, all the students have their computers open, but what I'm noticing is they're actually writing down notes on notepads and checking the computer to do a correlation with it. And I said, why are you writing it on, I'm curious, this isn't weird, right? Why are you writing that on a notepad? Like, because it helps me remember it better and makes me pay attention to you, and I'm writing down your words and we're having this conversation. So I think students, especially in these generations, are starting to yearn for that personal interaction more so. I think we're going to swing back or find a good hybrid.
Okay, very good. Well, as always, thanks so much. And thank you also for coming here. Appreciate that.